3 months had passed since Earth's victory over the hegemony fleet. The solar system buzzed with activity as ships from newly independent worlds arrived to establish diplomatic and trade relations. Earth had become a symbol of resistance across the galaxy. Captain John Miller stood in the observation lounge of the newly constructed Freedom Station, which orbited between Earth and the Moon. The Defiance, now repaired and upgraded, was visible through the large window, docked alongside vessels of various designs from a dozen different worlds. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" Ambassador Henry Washington said as he joined Miller by the window. "6 months ago, we didn't even know aliens existed. Now we're hosting the first assembly of the Free Systems Alliance." Miller nodded. "How many worlds have joined so far?" 27 have sent official representatives," Washington replied. "Another 40 have sent observers. And we receive messages daily from resistance movements on hegemony-controlled planets." The Free Systems Alliance had formed quickly after the battle. Each member world maintained its independence while agreeing to mutual defense and free trade. Earth, despite its relatively primitive technology, had been unanimously chosen to lead the alliance. "The hegemony won't stay quiet for long," Miller said. "Our scouts report they're building a new fleet, bigger than the last one." Washington sighed. "I know. That's why today's meeting is so important. We need to finalize our defense strategy before they return." The alliance meeting took place in a large circular chamber. Representatives from all member worlds sat around, a table designed to suggest equality. No head, no special positions. Director Patricia Benson represented Earth with Admiral Kelly beside her. "The hegemony has ruled through fear for over 2,000 years. Benson addressed the gathering. "They've never faced organized resistance on this scale. That gives us an advantage but also makes us a target. They cannot allow our alliance to succeed." A representative from Vorelli, the four-armed alien Tren who had first spoken to Washington at the Galactic Assembly, stood next. "We have intelligence suggesting the hegemony is preparing a fleet of over 100 warships. They intend to make an example of all worlds that have declared independence." Murmurs of concern spread through the chamber. Admiral Kelly activated the central display showing defensive plans. "We've been sharing our shield technology with all Alliance members. Engineer Martinez has continued to improve the adaptive harmonics system, making it even more effective against hegemony weapons." "But will it be enough against so many ships?" asked a representative from a world called Nebulon. "Defense alone won't save us," Kelly admitted. "That's why we're proposing a more aggressive approach." She highlighted several points throughout. Hegemony space. "These are key hegemony military installations. Based on intelligence from our combined sources, we believe coordinated strikes against these targets could significantly weaken their ability to launch a full-scale attack." The room erupted in debate. Some representatives feared escalation, while others argued they had already passed the point of no return. In the end, the majority supported Kelly's plan. The Free Systems Alliance would not wait for the hegemony to attack. They would strike first. On the Defiance, Miller briefed his crew on their mission. The ship had been chosen to lead one of the strike teams against a hegemony communications hub. "This won't be like our previous engagement," he told them. "We're taking the fight into their territory. The mission is simple: disable their communications array and get out quickly." Lisa Wright, now promoted to lieutenant, raised a concern. "Captain, what about civilians on the station?" "Intelligence suggests it's a military installation only," Miller replied. "But we'll scan thoroughly before taking any action. This alliance doesn't target civilians. That's what separates us from the hegemony." Tactical Officer Daniel Ross outlined their approach. "We'll be joined by 3 ships from Nebulon and Vorelli. Their smaller vessels will provide cover while we approach the main target. Engineer Martinez has modified our shields to mask our energy signature until we're in position." Miller looked around at his crew, seeing determination in their eyes. "We launch in 6 hours. Get some rest while you can." Across the galaxy, similar briefings were happening on dozens of Alliance ships. The coordinated attack would target 17 hegemony installations simultaneously, striking from different directions to prevent an organized response. On Earth, Admiral Kelly monitored the situation from command headquarters. Lieutenant Diane Foster provided regular intelligence updates as the missions progressed. Strike Team. Alpha has successfully disabled the weapons facility in the Centauri sector, Foster reported. Teams Beta and Gamma are approaching their targets now. Kelly nodded, her face tense. Any response from the Hegemony fleet? They appear to be scrambling, ma'am. Our simultaneous strikes have created confusion in their command structure. Good, Kelly said. What about Miller's team? Foster checked her display. They're approaching the communications hub now. The Defiant slipped through space, its modified shields making it nearly invisible to Hegemony sensors. 3 smaller Alliance ships flanked it, maintaining communication through encrypted channels that Engineer Martinez had designed. We're in position, Miller announced. Final scans confirm military personnel only. Prepare to deploy Adams' disruptor. The device that scientist Nicole Adams had created had been refined and improved. Now smaller and more powerful, it could disable Hegemony systems from a greater distance. Deploying in 3, 2, 1. Ross counted down. The small probe launched toward the massive communications hub. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, section by section, the station's lights flickered and died. Direct hit, Ross confirmed. Their systems are shutting down. Alliance vessels move in and secure the station, Miller ordered. We need their data cores intact. The mission proceeded smoothly until a Hegemony patrol ship appeared from behind a nearby moon. It immediately opened fire on the Alliance vessels. Evasive maneuvers, Miller shouted as the Defiance rocked from a near miss. Return fire, target their weapon systems only. The Defiance and its allies quickly outmaneuvered the lone Hegemony vessel. After a brief exchange of fire, the Hegemony ship retreated, jumping into faster-than-light travel. They'll report our position, Wright warned. We've got what we came for, Miller replied. Data team. Download everything you can in the next 10 minutes. Then we're leaving. Back on Earth, the success of the coordinated strikes was celebrated cautiously. 17 key Hegemony installations had been disabled, with minimal Alliance casualties. More importantly, the data recovered from these facilities provided invaluable intelligence about Hegemony operations. Director Benson addressed the United Nations with the news. Today marks a turning point in our struggle for freedom, but the real battle lies ahead. The Hegemony is wounded, not defeated, she was right. 2 weeks later, the massive Hegemony fleet that had been gathering launched its attack. Over 100 warships approached Alliance space from multiple directions. The Free Systems Alliance was ready. Their combined fleet, now equipped with Earth's adaptive shield technology and the disruptor devices, met the Hegemony forces at predetermined defensive positions. The battle was the largest the galaxy had seen in centuries. Ships from dozens of worlds fought side by side against the Hegemony's overwhelming numbers. The Defiance, now serving as Admiral Kelly's flagship, coordinated the Alliance forces. Focus fire on their command ships, Kelly ordered. Use the disruptors to create openings, then strike with everything we've got. Despite their preparations, the Alliance suffered heavy losses. Several ships were destroyed, others crippled beyond repair. For hours, the outcome remained uncertain as the Hegemony pushed forward relentlessly. Then something unexpected happened. As the battle raged, transmissions began coming in from planets throughout Hegemony space. Inspired by the Alliance's resistance, populations were rising up against their rulers. Hegemony forces found themselves fighting on 2 fronts, against the Alliance in space and against rebellions at home. Miller watched from the bridge of the Defiance as the Hegemony fleet began to break formation. Some ships retreated to deal with uprisings on their homeworlds. Others, seeing the tide turning, surrendered to Alliance forces. Within days, the Hegemony government collapsed as world after world declared independence. The empire that had stood for 2,000 years fell not just to military defeat, but to the idea that freedom was possible. 1 month later, representatives from over 200 formerly Hegemony-controlled worlds gathered on Freedom Station. There, with Earth leading the proceedings, a new galactic constitution was signed, one based on the simple principle that had started it all: no Empire ships allowed without invitation. Captain Miller stood at attention as the ceremony concluded. The Defiance, once a small defender of a single world, had become a legend throughout the galaxy, a symbol of resistance against overwhelming odds. "What happens now?" Lisa Wright asked him quietly as the delegates celebrated. Miller looked out at the stars visible through the station's windows. "Now we build something better than an empire, something based on freedom rather than fear." The stars looked like tiny diamonds against the black canvas of space. Commander Alex Morgan watched them from the main window of the bridge on the UNSC Intrepid. The ship had been his home for the past 3 years, as they explored the far reaches of space looking for new planets that humans might one day call home. Another quiet day, Alex said to himself, running a hand through his short brown hair. At 42, he had spent most of his adult life among the stars. The endless darkness outside might have driven some people mad, but Alex found peace in it. The bridge hummed with the normal sounds of work. 10 crew members sat at their stations, monitoring systems and checking data. Most days were the same: routine checks, minor course adjustments, and the occasional excitement of discovering an interesting space rock. Today was not going to be one of those normal days. "Commander," called Lisa Wright from her communications station. Her voice had an edge to it that made Alex turn immediately. "I'm picking up something strange." Alex walked over to her station. Lisa was the best communications officer in the fleet. If she said something was strange, it was worth paying attention to. "What kind of strange?" he asked, looking at her screen. Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "It's a signal, sir. Not random space noise, it repeats in a pattern." "Human?" Alex asked, though he already suspected the answer. Lisa shook her head. "No, sir. It doesn't match any human communication protocols I've ever seen." The bridge grew quiet as other crew members began to realize what was happening. For as long as humans had traveled in space, they had wondered if they were alone. They had sent out countless messages into the darkness, hoping for a reply. Now, it seemed, someone had answered. "Put it on the main speakers," Alex ordered. A strange sound filled the bridge. It wasn't quite music and it wasn't quite language. It was something in between, a series of tones that rose and fell in a clear pattern. "Get Chief Science Officer." "Carter up here now," Alex said to his first officer. 5 minutes later, Daniel Carter rushed onto the bridge. His eyes were wide with excitement behind his glasses. "Is it true?" he asked. "We've picked up a non-human signal?" Alex nodded toward Lisa's station. "Listen for yourself." Daniel put on a headset and listened to the signal. His expression changed, from excitement to concentration as he began to tap his finger in time with the pattern. "This isn't random," he said. "There's math here, prime numbers, and something else." He moved to an empty workstation and began typing rapidly, feeding the signal into the ship's main computer for analysis. "The computer is finding images hidden in the signal," Daniel said after a few minutes. "The aliens, if that's what they are, is encoded visual data in the transmission." The main screen on the bridge lit up with the first clear image, a massive fleet of strange-looking ships. They were unlike anything humans had built, organic shapes with crystalline structures that caught the light of a nearby star. The next image showed the same fleet, but now it was closer to the star, which looked unstable, its surface bubbling with massive solar flares. "They're drifting toward that star," Alex said, understanding immediately. "And based on those solar activities, that star is dying." Daniel nodded. "I think this is a distress call, Commander," Lisa spoke up from her station. "I've pinpointed the source of the signal. It's coming from the Vega sector about 2 weeks away at maximum speed." Alex didn't hesitate. "Plot a course, Lisa. Send a message to Earth Command with everything we know. Tell them we're responding to a potential first contact situation and a distress call." "Sir," his first officer stepped forward. "Protocol says we should wait for confirmation from Earth before changing mission parameters." Alex looked back at the screen showing the alien fleet drifting toward their doom. "Those ships are full of living beings asking for help. We're not going to float here debating protocol while they die. Plot the course." Over the next few days, as the Intrepid pushed its engines to the limit, Earth Command sent a flood of messages. Scientists wanted data. Military officials wanted caution. Politicians wanted to form committees to discuss the proper response. But underlying it all was the same human reaction that Alex had felt. A need to help. "Commander," Lisa called one morning, a week into their journey. "I'm receiving a transmission from Admiral Wu at Earth Command." The Admiral's face appeared, on the main screen. His expression was serious, but there was a hint of excitement in his eyes. "Commander Morgan, your discovery has changed history. This is the moment humanity has been waiting for. Proof that we are not alone in the universe." He paused. "But more importantly, it's a chance to show who we are as a species. The Security Council met through the night and has made a decision." Alex held his breath, hoping he wasn't about to be ordered to abandon the rescue mission. "You will not be alone when you reach those coordinates. We're dispatching every available ship in the fleet. The UNSC Hope, Discovery, and Horizon are already en route, along with 10 support vessels. More will follow as they can be prepared." Alex felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "Thank you, Admiral." "This isn't just a rescue mission now, Commander. This is first contact. The eyes of human history are on you. Find those aliens and save them if you can." As the Intrepid continued its journey, the crew prepared for every possibility. They studied the signal, learning more about the aliens with each passing hour. The ships appeared to be made partly of crystal and partly of some organic material. Scans suggested thousands of life forms aboard each vessel. Based on the star's condition in these images, Daniel explained during a briefing, they probably have less than a month before the star begins to collapse. The radiation alone will kill them before that happens. On the 12th day of their journey, the Intrepid dropped out of FTL travel at the edge of the system shown in the alien transmission. What they saw left everyone on the bridge speechless. Hundreds of massive ships drifted in the empty space between planets. They shimmered like giant sea creatures, their crystalline surfaces catching the angry red light of the dying star at the center of the system. Detailed scans confirmed what they had feared. The ships had no working propulsion systems. They were drifting helplessly toward the star, which was visibly unstable. "Life signs?" Alex asked. "Thousands on each ship," Daniel confirmed. "Most appear to be in some kind of suspended animation. Only a few are active." "Can we communicate with them directly now that we're closer?" Lisa was already working on it. "I'm broadcasting on all frequencies using mathematical sequences similar to their original message." Minutes passed in tense silence. Then a new sound came through the speakers, a different pattern than before, but clearly a response. "They've acknowledged us," Lisa said, her voice filled with wonder. "They know we're here." Alex looked at the alien fleet, then at the faces of his crew. In all his years of space travel, he had never seen such a mix of fear and hope and determination. "Send a message to the incoming human fleet. Tell them we've made contact and confirmed the emergency. And tell our new friends out there that help is coming." He stood a little straighter. "Humanity has answered their call." The human rescue fleet grew larger with each passing day. Within a week of the Intrepid's arrival, 22 Earth ships had gathered at the edge of the dying star system. The newest arrival was the massive hospital ship Mercy, designed to handle thousands of patients. Commander Alex Morgan stood in the main conference room of the Intrepid, looking at the faces of the other ship captains on the large screen. Some he knew personally, others only by reputation. All looked both excited and worried. "We've been studying their ships for the past week," Alex explained, pointing to the holographic display in the center of the room. "Their propulsion systems appear to be completely dead, and the radiation from their star is getting worse every day." Captain Samantha Green of the Mercy spoke up. "Have we made any progress with direct communication?" "Some," Alex replied. "We've established a basic way to share information through mathematical patterns and simple images. We know they call themselves the Luminari." The hologram shifted to show one of the alien ships up close. Unlike human vessels with their straight lines and metal hulls, the Luminari ships looked almost alive. Their outer shells had a pearl-like shine, with geometric crystal formations growing from certain points. "We need to board one of their ships," said Captain Frank Rivera of the science vessel Discovery. "If we're going to help them, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." Alex nodded. "That's the plan. I've selected a team to make first direct contact. We'll be heading to what appears to be their command ship in 3 hours." After the meeting ended, Alex met with the contact team in the shuttle bay. Dr. Elena Williams, the Intrepid's chief medical officer, checked her equipment one last time. "Remember," she said to the team, "we have no idea how these beings will react to us physically. They might find us just as strange as we find them." Next to her, Lieutenant Ben Harris, head of security, looked uncomfortable. "I still think we should bring more security personnel, sir." Alex shook his head. "I want this to be peaceful, Lieutenant. We're guests on their ship. We'll follow their lead." The shuttle journey to the Luminary command ship took 20 minutes. As they approached, they could see the damage the failing star had already caused. Parts of the crystalline structures were cracked, and there were dark patches on the otherwise shimmering hull. "Look at the size of that thing," whispered Ben. The alien ship was easily 3 times larger than the biggest human vessel. Their shuttle received a signal directing them to what appeared to be a docking area. As they approached, a section of the pearly outer shell opened like the petals of a flower, revealing a docking bay inside. "Well," Alex said, taking a deep breath, "here goes nothing." When the shuttle doors opened, the team was hit with air that smelled like cinnamon and sea salt. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal, making their movements feel bouncy. The docking bay walls pulsed with soft blue light. "The air's breathable," Elena confirmed, checking her instruments. "Oxygen levels slightly higher than Earth normal, but nothing dangerous." They stepped out cautiously, looking around the massive space. It was empty except for what looked like a doorway at the far end. As they approached it, the door slid open silently. Behind it stood 3 tall figures. Alex felt his heart skip a beat. After years of wondering if humans would ever meet intelligent alien life, he was standing face to face with the answer. The Luminary were about 7 feet tall, with slender bodies covered in what looked like smooth skin that changed colors slightly as they moved, shifting between pale blue and soft purple. Each had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on a face that was otherwise not so different from a human's. They had no hair, but their heads were crowned with small crystal formations that glowed with gentle light. "Hello," Alex said, making sure to speak slowly and clearly. "We received your distress call. We're here to help." The center Luminary stepped forward. Its 4 eyes blinked, not all at once, but in a pattern. Then it raised a 6-fingered hand and made a gesture that somehow conveyed both greeting and thanks. One of the other aliens held up a device that projected images into the air between them. It showed their fleet, then the dying star, then a question mark. Alex nodded and used hand gestures to indicate the star, then made an exploding motion with his hands. The Luminary's skin darkened slightly, perhaps their version of becoming pale with fear. Through a combination of pictures, gestures, and the mathematical language they had begun to develop, the humans learned the basics of the Luminary situation. Their home planet had orbited the dying star. When their scientists realized the star was becoming unstable, they had spent decades building their evacuation fleet. The entire Luminary civilization, over 30 million beings, was aboard. These ships, they had launched just in time, but a massive solar flare had damaged their propulsion systems beyond repair. For nearly 10 years, they had drifted slowly through their system, unable to escape the dying star's pull. All that time, they had been sending out their distress call, never truly expecting an answer. The Luminary led the human team deeper into their ship. The corridors seemed alive, with walls that pulsed with light and occasionally changed shape to open new pathways. They passed chambers filled with what looked like sleeping pods, each containing a Luminary in suspended animation. "They've put most of their people into stasis to conserve resources," Elena guessed, scanning the pods with her medical equipment. "Only essential personnel remain awake." Their Luminary guide brought them to a large circular room that appeared to be their command center. In the middle stood a crystal formation that projected a 3-dimensional map of the star system. The star at the center pulsed an angry red, with warning symbols surrounding it. The lead luminary pointed to the display, then to a calendar-like image. Then it held up 8 fingers twice. 16 days, Alex translated. That's how long we have before the star goes supernova. Back on the Intrepid, Alex called an emergency meeting with all fleet captains. We have 16 days to save 30 million beings, he told them. Their ships are massive, but their propulsion systems are completely fried. We can't evacuate them all onto our vessels. We'd need hundreds more ships than we have. What about towing them? Suggested Captain Rivera. Alex shook his head. Too heavy, and we'd never clear the blast radius in time. Then we fix their engines, said Chief Engineer Olivia Walker. All eyes turned to her. We might not understand their technology completely, but propulsion is propulsion. The physics has to be similar. That's a huge undertaking, Admiral Kelly from the flagship Unity pointed out. Their ships are unlike anything we've built. We have no choice, Alex replied. We either figure out how to get their ships moving or millions die. The next day, teams of human engineers began working alongside the conscious Luminary crew members. The language barrier made things difficult, but both species were determined. The humans brought portable translation devices that grew more effective with each passing hour, as they learned more Luminary concepts. Human shuttles flew constantly between the two fleets, bringing equipment and specialists. On Earth, the best scientific minds worked around the clock, studying the data sent back from the rescue fleet and offering suggestions. Captain Rivera made a breakthrough on the 4th day. The Luminary ships aren't just machines, he explained during the daily briefing. They're partly biological. Their engine systems respond to the bioluminescence the aliens naturally produce. This discovery changed everything. Instead of trying to repair the engines with mechanical parts, the human engineers began developing devices that could mimic the Luminary bioluminescent patterns. As the days passed, the star grew more unstable. Solar flares became more frequent, forcing the human ships to adjust their positions constantly to avoid damage. Despite the danger, not a single human vessel left. When Earth Command suggested pulling back the hospital ship Mercy to a safer distance, its captain, Samantha Green, refused. We came to save lives, she said. We're not leaving until we do. On the 10th day, with time running out, Alex looked out at the Luminary fleet from the bridge of the Intrepid. Despite the odds against them, he felt a surge of pride. In all of human history, there had never been a rescue mission like this. We will save them, he said quietly, because that's what humans do. Day 11 brought disaster. A massive solar flare bigger than any they had seen before erupted from the dying star. The human ships detected it in time to raise their shields, but the Luminary vessels had no such protection. The radiation levels are spiking on 3 of the alien ships, shouted Lisa from her station on the Intrepid's bridge. Commander Alex Morgan made a quick decision. Direct all available medical teams to those vessels, and get me Captain Rivera. We need to speed up the engine repairs. Across the fleet, humans worked with desperate energy. Engineers slept in short shifts, if at all. Medical teams treated Luminary who had fallen sick from radiation exposure. Scientists tested and retested their theories about the alien technology. On the Luminary command ship, now named Harmony by the human crews, Alex met with the alien leaders and his chief engineers. Using their improved translation system, they discussed the latest setback. The solar flare damaged 7 more of their engines beyond what was already broken, reported Olivia Walker, wiping sweat from her forehead. And we're detecting increased activity from the star. It's becoming unstable faster than we predicted. The lead Luminary, whom the humans had named Ambassador Lux, created a series of light patterns with its skin. The translator converted it. Our people are grateful for your efforts, but perhaps you should save those you can and leave the rest. Alex shook his head firmly. That's not an option. We're going to save everyone. Back in the shuttle, heading to the Intrepid, Olivia looked troubled. Commander, I don't want to be the voice of doom, but the math doesn't work. We have 11 days left. At our current rate, we might fix engines on 30 or 40 ships. That leaves hundreds still adrift. Alex stared out the window at the massive luminary fleet. Then we need a new approach. That evening, Alex called a meeting of all the top engineers and scientists from the human fleet. The room was packed with tired but determined faces. Our current strategy isn't going to work, Alex said bluntly. We need something bold, something different. For hours, they debated various plans. Nothing seemed feasible until a young engineer named Sam Wilson spoke up. Sam was quiet by nature, and this was the first time many had heard him speak. What if we don't need to fix every ship? He asked. The room fell silent. Explain, Alex said. Sam stood up nervously. The luminary ships are partly biological, right? And we've seen how they can change shape to form new connections. What if we could link them together? Create chains of ships where only one or two need working engines to pull the others. Captain Rivera looked thoughtful. Like a train. Exactly, Sam said, gaining confidence. We focus on fixing the engines of the largest ships, then connect the smaller ones to them. We could also use our ships as tugs for some of the clusters. Energy filled the room as engineers began expanding on the idea, suggesting modifications and improvements. By morning, they had a new plan. The next 3 days were a blur of activity. Human engineers worked with luminary technicians to create massive cables made from a combination of human alloys and the luminary's crystalline materials. These cables were stronger than anything humans had ever made, capable of withstanding the stress of towing massive ships through space. At the same time, other teams focused on repairing the engines of the largest luminary vessels. By combining human power sources with luminary biotechnology, they created hybrid systems that could move the giant ships. It's working, Olivia exclaimed on day 15, as the first cluster of 5 linked luminary ships began to move slowly away from the dying star. The human vessel Unity pushed from behind, its engines glowing blue with the strain. But not everything went smoothly. On day 16, as they were linking another cluster of ships, an unexpected radiation wave hit. The human shuttle Falcon, carrying a team of engineers, lost power and drifted into the path of a moving luminary vessel. Despite frantic efforts to avoid collision, the shuttle was crushed, killing all 6 humans aboard. The loss hit the fleet hard. These were the first human casualties of the mission. During a memorial service aboard the Intrepid, Alex fought to keep his voice steady. They died doing what humans do best, helping others, even those we just met. We will honor their sacrifice by completing this mission. Ambassador Lux attended the service along with several other luminari. They performed a light ceremony, their skin glowing in patterns of blue and white, colors of mourning in their culture. The next day brought more bad news. The star was destabilizing faster than predicted. They now had only 7 days left, instead of 9. We need more power, Olivia told Alex during an emergency meeting. Our ships are pushing themselves to the limit, but it's not enough. What about linking our power systems directly to theirs, suggested Captain Green from the Mercy. We could feed our energy directly into their bioengines. That would mean shutting down life support on some of our ships, Admiral Kelly pointed out. It would be dangerous. Alex looked around the room. Ask for volunteers. We need crews willing to evacuate to the luminary ships while their vessels are used as power sources. The response was overwhelming. Every ship in the fleet volunteered, forcing Alex to make difficult choices. 5 human ships, including the Discovery, were designated as power sources. Their crews moved to the luminary vessels, where they continued to work alongside the aliens. By day 20, they had created 30 large clusters of ships, each with at least 1 working engine. The human fleet positioned itself strategically, with some vessels pushing from behind and others pulling from the front. The plan was to move slowly but steadily away from the star until they reached a safe distance, then make a faster exit from the system. On day 21, disaster struck. Again, a series of massive solar flares erupted simultaneously from different parts of the star. 2 human ships, the Explorer and the Phoenix, were caught in the blast. The Phoenix managed to limp away with heavy damage, but the Explorer was lost with 12 crew members who had stayed behind to maintain essential systems. Among the dead was Dr. Elena Williams, the Intrepid's chief medical officer. She had volunteered to stay aboard the Explorer to care for injured crew members who couldn't be moved. Her last message to the fleet became a rallying cry. They called for help and we answered. Don't let this stop you from finishing what we started. The loss of the Explorer created a gap in the formation. Without its power and position, one cluster of luminary ships began to drift back toward the star. We're losing Cluster 7. Lisa called out on the Intrepid's bridge. Without hesitation, Alex made his decision. Move the Intrepid into position. We'll take the Explorer's place. Sir, that will put us dangerously close to the radiation zone, his first officer warned. I know, Alex replied calmly. Do it anyway. The Intrepid moved into the gap, its engines straining as it pushed against the massive weight of the luminary ships. The radiation alarms began to sound as the ship's shields struggled to protect the crew. From the bridge, Alex watched as the rest of the fleet continued to move forward, dragging the entire luminary civilization away from the dying star, one painful inch at a time. We're going to make it, he said, even as another alarm began to sound. Keep pushing. With 6 days left until the predicted supernova, the combined fleet had moved almost halfway to the safe zone. The race against time continued, with humans and Luminari working side by side to save a civilization. Their determination never wavered, even as the star behind them grew more violent with each passing hour.